On May 25, 1963, a child was born. And there was hope by all African leaders that this child that was born will bring joy, peace, unity, progress, economic advancement to the people of Africa. And that name, the child was named Organization of African Unity. 32 countries came together to form Organization of African Unity in 1963. But in 2002, there was a rename by the leaders. Then we have 53 countries that have come together, and the decision was to move the continent forward, saying that Africans need a better platform to express our love, peace, and progress. And at that meeting, precisely in 1999, the chairman of the meeting, African Unity Union, was Mr. Thabo Mbeki, the former South African president. And Gaddafi's plan was that what we have in the European Union will be translated, or we have a similar organization back here in Africa. And precisely August 9, 2002, it was signed as a charter as African Union. Well, welcome to Trailblazers Africa. My name is Moses Owopade, and today, from my intro, you would know that we are looking at African Union. And only yesterday, which is May 25, 2012, we celebrated African Union. And I have felt that we need to really talk about African Union, what we have achieved, and what we need to really do. To join me on the program today are two great men. I call them great men because they have really contributed to the continent of Africa, and they have passion that this continent becomes a greater one. So I have two gentlemen in the studio, just like I said. I wouldn't be going for a short break because this is a very crucial time, a very crucial moment. My first guest is the founder of Mission Africa Incorporated. He has traveled worldwide. He is a prolific writer. He has several books to his credit. He is also an articulate conference speaker. Even to some of us who have been following his antecedent here in Ghana, every AU day, you see him at the parliament delivering strong papers to ensure that Africa is united. His name is Dr. Kodjoe Sumney. I'd like to welcome you to Trailblazers Africa.
Thank you, Brother Moses, and welcome.
Yeah, and very close to him, at my far left, is one of the outspoken lawyers that Africa has got. His name is Barrister Tolulope Ojaomo. I'd like to welcome you, a legislative lawyer. You're welcome to Trailblazers Africa.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, gentlemen, we are looking at African Union. African Union came to be in 2002, like I gave the introduction, but we have Organization of African Unity from 1963. Let me start with you, Doctor. Was there any need for the establishment of the organization?
Oh, yes, certainly. You know that the history of Africa must always be written well by Africans. And I believe that the OAU, Organization of African Unity, was established and documented so that the children that will come after our forefathers, I call them the political prophets, after them, who could also read our history, like any other things. So there was a need. The first need was that Africa was this franchise or broke into pieces. So the OAU was to organize us to come together again. That was the first idea. And it was established, and then to help the freedom fighters, those countries who are yet to be free from colonial rule, to be assisted so that they can also achieve their political independence. And they were able to achieve that. So it was necessary for that. But at a certain point, we have to improve, innovate the vision of the OAU. So the innovation came when the 2002, Thabo Mbeki and Gaddafi and the rest came up with the African Union. So yes, it was important for us to read history. A country without the history is a tree without the root. So it was necessary that the OAU was established and documents written so we can read and see if it's true or not.
Now let's look at the idea behind African Union. The idea, we have several other aims. I'll be going into the aims. Doctor just said there was need for it, for the establishment of the African Union, which came out of Organization of African Unity. But in your own view, would you say we have lived, or the organization, the union, as it were, has really lived to their biddings?
No, definitely, because when you look at the performance of the African Union, I think it has not lived up to expectation. That was not the intention of our forefather. That was not the vision they had. When you look at the performance of African Union, you feel disheartened, because the essence of the union is to really have a union. But what we are having now is not a union, because when you look at it critically, you know that there is no union at all. All they do is they bring some people together, call themselves our leaders. They talk about one or two things that are not directly affecting the people, and they call it African Union. I think, to me, the African Union has not lived up to expectation, and because African people are expecting more than this from them.
African people are expecting more than this for them. Viewers at home, if you're just watching, if you're just joining us, the program is Trailblazers Africa, and we are looking at African Union today to mark the day of African Union. Friday was a holiday all over Africa to really give our support to this great continent. Well, he just mentioned that we have not lived to expectation.
Yes.
Would you want to agree with him?
It's yes and no. You see, the objective of the Organization of African Unity has not sunk down well to those who have inherited our forefathers.
Okay.
That's one. One, you cannot be economically dependent when you don't have your structures to become economically dependent. Organization for African Unity, the objective was, our forefathers had a plan. The plan was, one, now that we have gained political independence, we have to move on to economic independence. The second phase, which was to give us economic independence so that we can be able to establish the pillars and objectives of the OAU. Almost all the leaders who were spearheading the organization were more or less eliminated. Nkrumah gone, Selassie gone, Nyerere gone, all the key people, Nnamdi Azikiwe and all the people were more or less killed or annihilated, or they gone. So those who inherited the objective, the OAU, were not schooled enough, broadened, understood the vision very well. So they were operating out of more or less out of full understanding of the objectives of the OAU. So that means if you hear something you don't understand, you by all means make mistakes. So the first problem we have encountered was the leaders after the founding fathers of AU died. Those who came on board do not have full understanding of the objectives of our forefathers. That's one. Two, the current AU, the phase 2 of the organization of the AU is not just to meet. They have an agenda, they have NEPAD, which have to be well taught and understood by people who are going to spearhead the AU. Most of them don't understand. So if you do not educate people to understand the objectives of their leadership, they will perform poorly. So the problem is not that we have not been able to achieve, it's because of lack of knowledge. And so what we have is that we have an organization which is being remote controlled by the imperialists, those who have power to make decisions, the IMF, the World Bank. They have the structures, working with investors. They have the structures in place to run Africa. So what Africa needs to do as at now is to...
Yeah, Doctor, we're going back to what we need to do.
Okay.
But I wanted us to look at whether there is need for AU, which you have established.
Yes.
And then Barrister has also said that we mixed it at a point. And you have also, agreed to what is said. But let's look at the vision. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the likes of late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah,
yes,
who aimed at bringing African together.
That's right.
He even said that the independence of Ghana is meaningless unless it is linked to the freedom and the liberation of all African countries.
Correct.
Now, Barrister, I come back to you. His passion was to see a united Africa.
That's right.
Economically, politically, and socially.
Yep.
The European Union took over the idea from late Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and they have established it, and it's working for them. Doctor mentioned that the inheritors of the ideas of our forefathers got it all wrong. What happened to what is written? You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I like to disagree with Doctor in one sense by saying that the leaders don't know or don't understand
some of
the ideas behind the African Union. They do understand it, but because of lack of willpower, because of their selfish interest, and because some of them, because of their tenacity in holding on to power, they have deflected the ideologies of African unity. So the fact that they don't understand is
meaning that they understood, but they don't want to practice
they
it.
don't want to practice it because they felt.
Could that have been deliberate?
Yes, because they are not patriotic enough. That is it. Because I would like to use that word because they felt, most of them felt they want to continue to have the grip on their country, on their countries. So they're not ready to subject their powers to the unity because they felt if there's a united Africa, they're going to let go their political powers. These are the problems that we are facing in Africa, and that none of our leaders has been bold enough to challenge themselves to this cause, to say, let's sit now and talk about it. That was the dream of Gaddafi. Though he has his own side, but he also had his own good sides too. It was point blank and told them that it is time to decide the future of Africa. So the issue of the understanding or not of the ideology is not an issue. They understood it, but they felt they are not ready to sacrifice.
Okay, they understood it, but they felt the sacrifice they don't want to make. About 2 weeks ago, I was with...
I would disagree with that.
Okay.
I disagree with that, but I'll let him go with that. But we'll talk about that later.
Now, I was coming to that statement that Gaddafi, had the passion and the vision, especially if he didn't have much. He was telling us about having a united currency. What is happening?
You see, like my brother is saying, you can't see when the oppressor is in power and is oppressing the oppressed. If the oppressed don't have the tools of the oppressor cannot fight the oppressed. I repeat. If the oppressor, the one who is making decision, that's giving money to do A, B, C, D, and he's telling you what to do, you don't have the means. So he's the oppressor. He's telling you what to do. And he gave you independent without giving you full understanding of how democratic system runs. Africans don't run democratic system. We run by kings and chiefs. That's our system for years. We were colonized for over so many years. I can show the statistics. And then within a short time, they came out and said that this is the Western system of governance that you have to go with. The chiefs don't have well understanding of how it runs. The people who don't understand the Western democratic system is not an African system. Our system is chiefs and queen mothers and leaders and the elders. The system
like we still have in, I think, in Swaziland.
In Swaziland, the system that they gave us when we became independent, about 78% of the people are illiterate, and they don't even understand what we call democratic system. Now you are telling me that I should forget about my kings and my queens and my chiefs and how we were governed for many years, negate that, and use what you are just giving to me less than 30 years, which most of the people in the rural areas don't understand. Then you said, go by this system. So automatically, the people that you are giving them to govern with the democratic system don't understand the system properly. Even up to today, in the villages, they don't understand what we are talking about. So the teaching and understanding of the democratic system to let any power go for election is not well understood by the people. So that's one problem. The people are not well educated to understand democracy very well. As in the Western world, they have been practicing democracy from 1776. America has been practicing democracy from 1776 to today. And then we are only 52 years. And you are telling me to run my whole system, don't pay the chiefs, don't pay the queen mothers, get them out of the system, let the politician come from his hometown, come and stand in my hometown, do election and win and become a MP and be paid and forget about the chief, forget about the queen mother. You think people will be happy? So the system of governing Africans by the democratic system, it is not well, does not go down well to the people. Very few people don't understand. So that's one of the problems. Why people don't want to let the power go. In the Western system, they understood it very carefully that it's 4 years and you go, and that person comes. Here, they are afraid if it goes away and they don't come again, what next? They have not put a proper, comprehensive African democracy system down. We don't need this Western democracy system. It is not what is good for Africa. We need African democratic system that is going to be ruled together of the kings and chiefs together so that they can be catered into our culture. Western democracy system is no African culture. It is something we have been taught. So now we are thinking Western, but our culture is not in line with what we are having. That's the problem.
Thank you very much, Doctor. I think I want to agree with Dr. there, but let me come back to you. When we talk about independence, we are talking about political independence,
that's right.
Social independence, political and cultural independence. Yeah. But from what he had just said now, I want to agree totally with him that we are only free, even the political independence that we claim to have, is still being tied to some forces outside our sovereignty.
That's right.
You understand what
100%.
I'm saying? Now, would you want to say that the abolition, in quote, of a cultural value and a cultural system and the imbibing of the democratic system, which is alien to our system, is one of the major causes for lack of performance, actualization of African Union?
That's correct.
Well, I won't agree with that totally, but I think it's a contributory factor, because
when you say it's a contributory factor,
it contributed to it, but it's not. We can't say it's completely responsible for it.
Okay.
Yes, because when you talk of democracy, democracy is something that it is the government of the people. The people are directly involved. It is the government of the people. So it is your life.
Only the educated people, because when you go to the rural areas, not to catch up.
They don't get it.
When you go to the rural areas, like my village and your village, your mom and your grandmother don't understand the democratic system. They understand the chieftaincy and the elders and the queen mothers, how it is governed by this Western system. How long have you been educated? Only 50 years. Nigeria, Ghana is 55
now,
years.
if we understand, Barrister, if we understand the system of governance, I'm sorry to be hitting hard on you. Now, look at what is happening now. There is a case in Africa. We are taking it to ICC, International Criminal Court.
Yes.
Don't we have African system of, I mean, you are a lawyer.
Yeah.
Do we have our own African criminal
international criminal justice?
Well,
I
disagree with the creation of the ICC itself, because when you look at the ICC critically, yes, it's wrong for you to take Africans to Europe for trial, because there's an African Court of Justice. And this is an human rights case that they're supposed to be tried in Africa. And even the fact that a white man is brought to Africa to be the chief prosecutor in an African court, I think it's wrong. I disagree with that.
Is that not what you're saying?
Yes, sure. But they didn't just go to Liberia to pick Charles Taylor. There's an African influence. We allowed them to come in to pick him.
So that means we allowed this because he who pays the piper is indirectly dictating the tune.
That is the problem. That is why I said that most of our leaders are selfish. They are not ready to make the sacrifice.
As a result of lack of understanding that he mentioned.
Our leaders prefer going to Europe to look for foreign investors where there are investors in Africa.
Doctor, I think you understand the way I'm driving it.
It's simple. It's simple. Let me give you a statistics here. Okay? Let me give you something here. We have our system before they came. Okay? And if Africans, as Africa, I have two books here and I want to quote so that you listen to this very carefully. This is Africa in a state of emergency. We were in our country before they came since 1442. Now, Portuguese came to Africa in 1444, and they stayed in Africa from 1444 to 1870, 346 years. Okay? Trying to change our culture and our thinking. Then came Portugal. Portugal came to Spain came to Africa 1479 to 1835. 356 years trying to take our people away and change our culture and our way of thinking and our tradition. Then Britain came 1562 to 1807, 245 years trying to change our thinking and our philosophy. USA came to Africa 1619 to 1861, 242 years to change our system and our culture. Holland came to Africa 1625 to 1803, 178 years. Then France came 1642 to 1862, 218 years. Denmark came also. When Denmark came and then Holland came, if we put all together, 1,878 years trying to change our culture and our thinking. And from that time on, from that period to 1863, when slavery was abolished, then they said, now, we are finished with you guys. Now, they met again in 1920 and said, let's give them a different kind of educational system. We have our own way of doing things. Europeans were writing, Egyptians were writing. In 1920, they sat down in Berlin, the Berlin Conference, and said, look, now that we have finished colonialism, we have finished, and now let us find a way and means to colonize them and give them a different thinking, which will be in line with our Western system. And so they used 40 years to give us a colonial education. And the colonial education was also given to people who were elite, not all over the villages. So for 40 years, they gave us a different kind of education, trying to let us negate our system of culture, our chiefs, our kings, and our elders, and impose on us what we call Western democracy, which we don't understand. And for 52 years, after you've destroyed our system for over 1,988 years, changing everything, and then you are telling me that I should govern. You should govern your people with our system. When today, in Ghana, even Ghana, about 60% of the people are illiterate. They don't understand what we are doing. So the problem with our leaders is we have put a square peg in a round hole. We need African democratic system, which will embrace our chiefs and kings, come around a table and find out what can benefit all of us, concate some of the Western system, which is good, and then add ours, and then start on ourselves like China. We don't need Western democracy to run our country. China doesn't go by Western democratic system. They have developed their own system, and China is right now the super powerful country matching America. We don't need this Western system to govern ourselves, to be who we are. So I'm saying that our leaders, some of them are wrong, but most of them go to parliament. Some of them even understand what it's all about. So we need to really review the Western democratic system and see if it's okay for us before we can go to the next stage.
Some of our leaders don't understand what they are doing, and then some of them are elected into the office, some in the parliament. That is the disheartening thing. We have some in the parliament that are to make law for the country they do not understand.
That's right.
They are to make law. The law, they do not even understand what the law is all about. Now, you are a barrister. Let me hit you hard here. Now, how come we are having, should there not be a change in our electioneering system process where we have people, especially in the parliament, the national assemblies, that will have the understanding of the law? Not just the moment you have a school certificate examination, you are qualified to contest for any office. Is that not one of the major problems? Because these are the same people that will be taken to the higher office, that will be delegated to represent our various countries at African Union meeting. And when they get there, because they do not have the understanding, they do not have the educational background, then they mess up. They only drink tea and come back with our taxpayers' money.
I don't think that's a problem. It's not that our parliamentarians don't know the people, because the parliamentarians themselves are they are part of our people. They came from the people. So if you are saying that they don't know the people, then
not all of them. The few of them that are not schooled in the area of law.
You don't need to be a lawyer to be in parliament. Lawmaking is a process. There are stages in lawmaking. You don't just stand up one day and make laws. There are policies of government that has to be put into law so that probably to check or stop something or to promote something. So that's the process of lawmaking. So the fact that somebody is in parliament is not probably a lawyer or is not a graduate doesn't mean the person cannot affect the people. They can only affect because it is the people, they are making the law for the people. And they felt probably the people will benefit from the laws they are making. That's why they are making the laws. They are not making the laws for themselves. So the laws are for the people. So the fact that the parliamentarian is not a lawyer is not the issue here. The issue we are talking about here, because the problem I have been seeing is that we tend to blame the past too much for our problems. No. Why must we blame 1,000 or 2,000 years that we have been ruled by foreign powers? We should be proactive. That's the question. Africans should sit down and plan for the future. When you can continue to lament about the past.
Sit down and plan for the future. Yes, how do we plan for the future that we do not understand the foundation?
That's right.
We don't know the foundation of ourselves.
Let me come.
Yeah, maybe before we go for this break, let's just have Doctor just briefly.
Yeah, let me say this. When America came out of the Civil War, they have technocrats and bureaucrats. Bureaucrats are different from technocrats. Bureaucrats are people who are well educated, they understand, and bookish. Technocrats are people who can put things into place. So what they decided was that let's put more technocrats in power. People who are, if I'm a minister of agriculture, I must understand how agriculture works. If I'm a minister of sports, I must understand how sports works. Today, according to the Western system of politics we're having today, you can be an MP, that's something wrong, win, and then today you are Minister of Health, and then you will be asked to go and be a Minister of Sports. That is putting a square peg in a round hole. Today you are Minister of Medical Doctor, then they say go and be Minister of Telecommunication. We have to put the right people who understand the area of their leadership so that they can properly lead. But what's happened today? We put in different ministers in wrong areas that they are just good because they can do the job. We just give them position to hold. But that's not how the Western system ran those days. They put technocrats, those who understand the areas, because they understand the culture matches. You take a census and see those who are in various positions in Ghana today or any part of Africa, and see if the ministers who are holding positions, is that their field of study or they are just fit for the job. That's our problem. If you put me, my background building construction. If you put me right now as an MP, and I don't understand building construction, it's okay, go and head Minister of Health. I'll be there, I'll be directing affairs, but I already understand. But if you put me in the technocrat field, I will know that four bag of cement plus stone and sand will give you a stronger aggregate. That is why we're having problem. So we need to reshuffle our democratic system and the parliamentary system properly to align with the technocrats working together with the bureaucrats so we can run, because we are running a system that is foreign to us. China don't go by this system and they are doing very well. So I'm saying that we must also look at what will be good for our culture, coquette a little bit of the East, a little bit of the West, a little bit of our traditional culture, and come out political, African democratic political system that will inculcate even the chiefs and the elders who have wisdom also, so that we can run our own affairs and we will do very well. Let's try it and see. That's what I propose.
Well, that's the proposition of Dr. Kodjoe Sumney, who is one of the best African we have abroad. He's based in the United States of America, but he comes to Ghana once a year when he wants to deliver paper at the parliament to mark African Union. And that is why Trailblazer Africa had to get him to be part of this. And of course, Barrister Tolulope Ojaomo, who is also a legislative lawyer. We are looking at African Union. After so many years of establishment, what has been the contribution, what has been the significance, and if we have seen some of the significances, then we need to look at what do we do to help the continent. Let's go for this short break, and that will be word on marble from some of the African leaders we have, and when we come back, the program continues. Welcome back. The program you're watching is Trailblazers Africa, and I am Moses Owopade here, piloting the affairs of Trailblazers Africa with two gentlemen, very highly intellectual people, Dr. Kodjoe Sumney, founder Mission Africa Incorporated, and the barrister Tolulope Ojaomo, a legislative lawyer. Now, let me give you one of the aims of AU or the OAU. Maybe we have actually, gotten it right. It said to accelerate. I use the word, when I take note of the choice of words they use.
That's
to
right.
accelerate the political and socio-economic integration
That's right.
of the continent.
Good.
Let me start with you, Barrister Tolu. Let's even leave the word accelerating. Let's look at, integration, political integration, socio-economic integration. Have we got that in Africa?
We haven't. We are landing a peg hole. We are not serious about our so-called African integration.
Okay.
It's documented, but it's not in practice. Because when you look at the issue of African unity critically, you look at the visions of our forefathers has not even been touched, talk less of even putting of executing them.
Okay.
When you look at Nkrumah, when you look at his vision today, when you look at Ghana today, you look at so many things that you can still point to as this is achievement of this one achievement of Nkrumah. So many things can still be pointed to today in Ghana. There are achievements of Nkrumah. But when you talk of integration, look at ECOWAS alone. ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States. For me, if I want to go to Togo from Ghana, I need to use an American dollar to travel from Ghana to Togo, a neighboring country to Ghana. These are the things that we are talking about. There's no at the moment no integration. It's just we are only is only a paperwork. The African integration is a paperwork. It's not into practice.
African integration is just paperwork. Doctor?
Like I said to my brother, barrister, and you, if someone who is your oppressor, who has oppressed you for those many years, and he knows that you have raw materials, and he knows that your weakness is your strength. If you're weak, your membership, if you're bigger, you are stronger. And they have partitioned you into segments. And he has come to realize that, for instance, in United States realized that there were 13 states. And he realized that by being 13 states, it will make them weaker. So they sat down, they reasoned together, and came together and formed United States of America and made it 50 states to make them stronger. The same people came to Europe. I was in Europe in 1982. I was in Europe, and they planned. Look, the separation of Western Europe will weaken us. So they said, now let's have a meeting in 10 years. Let's set a timeline and move all the boundaries. They sat down. They were serious, and truly in 10 years' time, they moved East Berlin, Luxembourg, France, and they integrated themselves, and they called them EU. They found out that it's very important to unite. The same people are telling that it is still good for you to be disunited. So we have to look at the same game they are playing, and we play the same game. So the game we need to play is that now that you have united yourselves, we are saying that AU, African Union, will pay the price. Let's set a timeline. ECOWAS, in the next 12 years, whether rain or shining, ECOWAS, Nigeria, Gambia, whatever it is, we shall also pay the price to integrate so that we can solve our problem. We don't need them to tell us that. Because we have seen that they have come on that the bigger they are, the better. So we need to decide that ECAS, East African states, set a timeline. By 10 years' time, we will remove the colonial boundaries, the political boundaries, and integrate so that we can trade among ourselves. They are saying we shouldn't trade among ourselves. We should rather bring our goods to them over there. This is basic tenets of teaching that we need to teach our generation. We don't need the Western to tell us what to do. We can live without them. We shall only have to sacrifice a little bit. And then we shall be free. But without that, the integration won't work. So the problem is, we don't expect them to set us free because they divided us anyway. And so if we sit down expecting them to integrate us, then we are joking. We, the 21st century generation, you and I, and our children, and our great-grandchildren, we have to tell our leaders that we will let go the sugar, we will let go the African Western clothing, we will let go the shoes, we will let go the rice that is coming, we will let go certain things for the next 10 years. Let us integrate, and whatever happens, let happen. Then we are talking. But if we leave it in the hands of the political leaders who go over there to negotiate for business and for loan and for other things, they will not set us free to be free.
Before we came on set, you told me that we have some parliamentary session of the AU.
Yeah.
I may not be able to quote you rightly. Yeah. But instead of going there for business, they go there for tea.
Yeah, we have the Pan-African Parliament.
Yeah.
Okay. Pan-African Parliament.
Yeah, but what is the end of the parliament? Because they don't make any laws. It's just they brought parliamentarians from Africa together to sit and talk about, probably discuss and shout and play. No. They don't make
no definite issue.
Yes, no definite. Yes, they. I don't know. There's ECOWAS parliament. They can't even point to a single law that has been made by this parliament. So these are the issues that we're talking about.
Do you think it's as a result of differences that Doctor mentioned, that because we are yet to integrate? So if you make law, you say, no, this law will not affect me.
We integrate. Look at the issue of the ECOWAS court. I've been following cases of the ECOWAS court and I've been following their decision. It got to a level that the ECOWAS court said that an ECOWAS citizen cannot bring case to the court. That the court is meant for nations. That it's only countries that can bring cases there. What is that? What is the essence of that court? If individuals, legal personalities cannot go there to sort out their cases, then what kind of court is that?
Yeah, Doctor, I read I read a whole lot.
I appreciate that.
And I've read that one of the major problems, that AU is having, are three major problems. One, we talked about language. Two, they mentioned currency. Then they mentioned different system of government. We have Nigeria, federal, here unitary, and several other kind. Those are the major reasons that is affecting this integration that we are talking about. Would you want to agree to that?
Totally no. Because when you go to Europe, we have Luxembourg, they speak French.
Yeah.
France speak French. Spain speak different language, Spanish. Italian speak. And they have come together with one common currency. And they have integrated. The issue we are having is, until African leaders and the common African person understands the cost of colonial rule and imperialism and the objective of imperialism, we are just playing no games. For instance, our culture, our language has been changed. We were not raised to speak English. It was imposed on us. Don't speak vernacular in English. Don't speak vernacular in your own school. So they gave us languages so that we can talk their talk and they understand our minds. Now we are...
So that we can talk
their talk and they understand our minds. But supposing that I'm speaking Yoruba and you are speaking Yoruba, whatever you are speaking, we develop one African language like Swahili. We all understand our language. So the problem is not language, because the integration in Western Europe, they have different languages. But they have come to a common interest. The common problem in Africa is not tribe. And it's not language. Because we have one common history, one common problem, one common solution. Do we all need to solve our problem? Referendum, yes. What do we need to do? African leaders, let's come together and stop importing rice. Nigeria can farm rice, Ghana can farm rice, Abidjan can farm rice. put a timeline, the next 10 years, no importation of rice. You all agree that, yes, we put a timeline, we are solving problems. The next year, it's okay, no importation of sugar. We set a timeline, the next 5 years, we can import rice now or sugar right now, but we have all agreed that in the next 10 years, we don't need Western rice. That is how we solve problems, become dependent and integrated. We don't have those structures in place. We say, okay, next 10 years, no Western shoes. Let's develop Nigerian shoes and Ghana develop shoes. Nigeria develop shoes. Gambia develop sandals. Next 10 years, we are not importing no Western shoes. That is how we solve problems. No Western clothes in the next 10 years. You don't wear Western clothes. You don't wear the Western clothes. Let us develop our own. When we come to that understanding, then we are solving problem, and that's what Mission Africa stands for. We believe that our children, we need to leave a legacy for them to know.
I will still come heavily on the Mission Africa.
Yes.
To really tell us
yes.
what your vision, your passion
yes.
For Africa is all about.
Yes.
I noted it
yes.
here that I want to know more about Mission Africa.
Okay.
Now, Barrister, there was a time.
That's the solution I'm talking about. Let me land.
Yeah.
The landing is that we need to have a timeline agenda to integrate without waiting for them to tell us, because they will not let us integrate. So we need to come to the youth of today and people of us to come to a consensus and put timeline on everything we want to do and gradually sacrifice a little bit. America sacrificed, German sacrificed, and we need to sacrifice. But we don't want to sacrifice. We can't blame the politicians. We, the people of the next generation, must demand timeline for everything we do. We appreciate their support, we appreciate their help, but we are asking for timeline. If it's going to take us 40 years, it took Hong Kong 100 years to be patient for Britain to rule them. After 99 years, they left. I was in Hong Kong. And now Hong Kong is being run by the Chinese. But we don't have any timeline. We talk. We are bureaucratic talkers. We are not technocrat talkers. We need timeline. Timeline will solve our problem. And the Western world, when they come to realize that we are not against them, but we are trying to prepare the grounds for our great-grandchildren. And the only way that can happen is let's set a timeline.
Well, Doctor is a speaker, is a conference speaker all over the world, and you can see that from his delivery today. What we need in Africa is to set timeline to integrate. It could take us years, but we have the decision, we have that passion to ensure that we are integrated. Now, Barrister, let me ask you, because I know you followed late Gaddafi quite well.
Yeah, sure.
There was a time he moved the motion that Africa should have a common currency. 3 presidents left that meeting disagreeing with that statement.
Yes.
Now, if we have African Union made up of presidents, because they are the leaders, somebody is coming up with the idea that this is going to help us to integrate, and 3 countries, I don't want to mention the names of these 3 presidents, you know them, left the meeting saying that Gaddafi was talking nonsense. How then are we going to integrate where we have leaders who are not willing to submit to the position they have in paper? How do we move on?
Well, when I look at the issue of common currency and Doctor said something before. He was talking about time frame. There have been certain time frames. It's not the issue of time frame now, but setting the time frame and working towards it. Several times you have been set for the eco currency, the ECOWAS currency. How many countries are working for the eco? About 6 countries in West Africa. Up till now, if 6 countries in West Africa, the 6 English-speaking countries in West Africa cannot work out a common currency, then we are now talking of Africa. So we have to look at it from their regional perspective. If ECOWAS cannot come out with a common currency, you are talking of
SACA
Africa.
Cannot.
Yeah. So the East African bloc cannot come. So it's more than AU. And I see this problem as a problem that is caused not really because We don't have the willpower to do it. But because of neo-colonialism, because there's a burden that Africa has to pay, and that burden is still on Africa. We fail to share the burden. The burden is that Africans are still paying debts that are anti-people. When you look at the theory propounded by Professor Naum Sak in 1927, the theory of odious debt, you take loans that are not used for the people, then you are now expecting the people to pay the loans. Most of these loans are taken by dictatorial regimes. But now, when they leave power, you still expect us to pay. The people that are against the common currency in Africa, they knew what will happen, because if you have look at the crisis in Europe, the Western crisis, the one in America, there was problem with dollars, and African currency were going down. Is half a dollar? Does it have anything to do with Africa? But they're having problem in Europe, and we're having problem in Africa. Why? Because the lives of Africans, our economic life is tied with the Western lives. We are not on our own. We are not independent. That is the problem. So the issue of the time Gaddafi came out with that idea is not the appropriate time. We can, because if you do it, it will worsen our problem. It will not solve the problem.
If we do it, it's going to worsen our problem. You see, I'm enjoying myself today, having two intellectuals in the house. You just have to join them, and I hope you are really, really getting a whole lot. We are celebrating African Union Day, and we are looking at what we have achieved as a continent and what we can also achieve. We go for a very quick commercial, and when we come back, we'll be looking towards what can be done and what do we expect from our leaders.
Hello viewers, welcome to Have You Heard?
Your innovation needs the right medium to get to the right audience. Have You Heard? A promotional news program that sells ideas, organizations, services.
We have a lot of great services to offer. The 8 Ghana Petrol.
People, places and projects to the public with authority and in authenticity is the program to fix such ideas.
It's a product that is the most widely used analgesic worldwide.
We do weather shows for TVs all around Africa and all around.
Have You Heard? Brings out the facts that the public wants to get in a unique and unbeatable style that keeps the audience glued to their TV set for bumper analysis on your product, service or activity.
And Blackberry is a fantastic product to allow people to know.
We present your business in a compelling new style to stimulate desires in consumers for your top quality products.
If you haven't told your story on Have You Heard, then the story hasn't been told. Let the public hear you loud and clear on Have You Heard. To feature on Have You Heard, contact the marketing department of Crystal TV on
0572 291 671
0302 324 344. To get your products and services to your target, it must be on Have You Heard? Have You Heard? Promoting and celebrating the uniqueness of your brand.
Welcome back. This is a very serious moment with me on Trailblazers Africa today, and my guests have been doing a whole lot. Now, we just want to round off in a few moments, getting to find solution. Doctor, let me start with you. How do we, Africans, get back to the right course?
Thank you. The first thing is we need to change colonial educational system. The colonial educational system given to us in 1920 was a system to give us bureaucratic education, clerical works. It was not included with vocational schools and technical schools, scientific, innovative invention education. That was ZIP. For 40 years, that was not in the plan. They met in Western Berlin and decided that let's give them education where they can read and write and look up to us. No innovation, no technical, no vocational, no skills. So for 40 years, we were in a wilderness of education without skills. And we graduated from that. And after we gained independence, instead for our leaders to look at it carefully and say, look, What kind of educational system where people are finishing Legon, they are finishing universities, and they are looking for jobs with paper and pen? No one is inventing, no one is creating jobs. So we are now raising unemployment graduates because that's the education they gave us. In China, it wasn't so. So the first thing that we need to look at, how can we revamp our educational system and have bureaucratic or academic education, vocational schools, technical schools, high-skilled technical schools, to empower the next generation to the point where people will be proud of their raw materials, investigate how best they can use their raw materials to come up with something that will be appealing, artistic for people to buy. So we don't buy shoes from China and Japan or Italian or anywhere and be excited because we are wearing Japan shoes. But we should be happy that we have made in Kantamanto, made in Yaba shoes, made in Ghana, made in Nigeria, and we are proud of it. That's it. We don't have that education. Yeah. These are the solutions that we need to put in place. Educational system must also include high-skilled technical schools. Today, it is difficult to get a good carpenter, a good mason, a good plumber who can do a good finishing work because we don't have them in the system. So our solution is to add to our current Western colonial educational system, which is archaic, and improve on our own modern educational system, add more skills, so that all these young guys graduating can have the passion into entrepreneurship and job creation. That will solve the problem, number one. And then finally, I believe we must have worldwide education to the rural areas for people to understand that we need a referendum to improve our capitalism democracy and add concrete an African democracy or African tradition in addition to our system of governance. Because we need our chiefs and kings who have common sense also to contribute their wisdom and idea in parliament.
Your contribution to that?
Well, I feel the solution to African problem is not really the issue of education. My feeling is that the problem we are having are economical. If we can come together and pool our resources and have a say in our lives, because if American can...
But someone who is not educated, how will he be able to manage the economy?
No, I disagree with him in terms of that we have a Western education. Everybody wants to be educated, yes. When you are educated, it is now left to you to make use of your education. It is left to you, the onus is on you to see how you want to use your education. But the point is, if America can come out and say, if any country does not support gay rights, that they will not give that country loans again, then it means that we are not in control of our lives.
And then
we are economically dependent.
What he has said, you are indirectly supporting him. If I want to,
he's saying that the education that we should do away with Western
education.
No,
he didn't say so. He said we should bring everything together, then add our own value system.
Western education is an advantage for Africa. That's why.
That is what he said.
But he's saying
no.
You are
saying that it's taught us
for instance, China. Yeah. I've been to China. China don't have Western educational system. They don't even, if you go, every book you take in China is written in Chinese language. And they are not Christians. But they have a system catered to their culture. They have come around and found out that we need to find out what will benefit us. And they have improved on their education. And China is high-tech.
Yeah,
so I'm saying that the Western educational system is one, we need to bring it in our own, in addition, East and West, and improve on ours so that we can have our own African, Western, the African, Eastern, whatever we call it, democratic system, catered with our culture and education so that we can embargo on growth. Other than that, whatever they give us is what we take. How can we be here and be taking exams from London? How can you be here and be taking American exams? How can you be here and be taking... Why can't you use your own sense and develop your own and add his to yours and develop your own? That's my point.
Yeah, Doctor, that will prompt me to now say, what is the mission of
Mission Africa?
Mission Africa.
Mission Africa is simply Africans. It has come to the time for us to look at the East, the West, look at India, look at all around us, how are others doing it? To the point where they are becoming economically independent, and imitate them. And instead of us training our footballers for them to come and buy them, let us also use our gold and diamond to buy inventors, buy those who have the brain to come and teach us, and pay them if our gold bar, or pay them whatever we need to pay them with, so that they can teach our technical schools, vocational schools, how to do things that will make us economically powerful, because we have the resource that they need, and we can trade that with the experts, so that they can come and train our parliamentarians, train our technical school, train our vocational schools, make us better, so that we can build an African system of economical development and become economically empowered. Let's use our resources. Just as they come to buy our footballers and pay us, we have the resource to bring those who are willing to show us how. And there are so many people, Europeans and foreigners, who are willing to show how. Our diamond is going, our gold is going, and we are not getting it now.
Petroleum is going.
So let's use that resource to bring those who can teach us technical know-how, so that Mission Africa means Africans finding solution to African problems, so that we can all contribute our quota to the world.
Well, I spoke with Dr. Ray Higgins. I don't know whether you have met with him in the United States of America. Ray Higgins, exactly what you have said is mission 2 to Africa.
That's what
and you don't know yourself. Now, what is your message? Just in 30 seconds, the signal had come that the time is up. Your message to African leaders.
My message to African leaders is that the African leaders should sit tight. The African leaders should stop the lackadaisical attitude to the African Union ideology. The ideology is more than a person. It's more than a state. It's an ideology that wants to bring Africa together, so that we can be powerful, so that we will not be second-class citizens in Europe, so that we can stand on our own as a people and be proud to be Africans. That is my message.
Doctor, your message to African leaders and Africans.
Is Africa, our time is now, and we can do it with the help of God. And with God on our side, if we love one another, Africa can rise again. I say, Africans wear African clothes. 98% of us are wearing foreign clothes, and we are giving all our money to them. Let's wear African clothes, African shoes, African tie, African things, so we can create jobs for our own people. It's time, and the time is now.
Yeah, please permit me to just tell you that there is a book from Dr. Africa is Rising. Yeah, I like this book. Africa is Rising, a very good book that will help you to also understand Africa the more. So, well, I'm not doing advert for him, but he has given me honor on this program. So I rather say, go get a copy for yourself. Well, that is how we're rounding it off on today's episode of Trailblazers Africa. Wherever you are watching this program all over the world, write your comments and let me read from you what you think about the topic we have handled today. African Union, how far have we gone? How far have we fared? And how far are we going? I want to thank you very much, Barrister Tolu, for honoring us and coming on the program. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, sir.
All the way from the United States of America, Dr. Kodjoe Sumney. Yes. I want to thank you for coming on the program. Well, you still watch it right there in the U.S.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, all the production crew of Heavies, I.D. Johnson, Ru, Awal, Ato, and of course, Dan. All of them have done greatly well today. My name is Moses Owopade. I see you again next week on Trailblazers Africa. Until then, keep Africa united. Bye-bye.